Welcome back to update 51. It's been a while since I've posted anything. I have been busy doing a few uh, bits and pieces. You may have got a slight glimpse of that in a recent short that I uploaded. But anyway, I'm going to go over what's been happening, and it's basically a continuation of the work on the new section of track that I laid, and the landscaping work that's going on around that area. And if you may remember from the previous video, I'd laid the track and had got everything sort of running, operational, and now it's time to continue with the landscaping of that whole area to improve the look of it. And one of the things that I'm going to be doing, as you can see here, is this little building. Uh, I've turned it round and I've shortened the coal pit, if that's the name for it, uh, to make it fit into this area a little bit better. The reason I've turned it round is I just don't think it looks right with the high side of the building being that close to the track. I also think it makes the scene look a little bit better. But before I get onto that, there's a little work that I did on the engine shed that I previously installed. And as you may recall, there's a buffer missing, and I decided I was going to improve one of the Minitrix buffers that I had. So basically, I have very carefully cut out the plastic gravel load, uh, whatever it was in there, and I'm going to fill that with my own uh, load of gravel. And while I'm at it, I'm going to weather the whole uh, buffer stop. And as you can see here, I've made the wood really old looking, grey and faded, and I've added some rust details onto the nails or bolts holding the beam in place. And as you can see, that's it with its new gravel load in place. I still have to tidy it up a little bit and blend it into the landscape, but that was a little project, a side project that I decided to do. And in fact, I may actually do that for all the other buffer stops that I have on the layout that are similar to this, because I think it looks really very good. So I'm quite pleased with how that's gone. Anyway, back to the new section of track that I laid. And here you can see I've started to add some of the dirt and gravel into the area behind the coal bunker. The intention here in the future is to add some grass, bushes, etc., and also to put a fence there made of corrugated iron, which I'm going to scratch build myself. But here you can see I've started the first layer of dead grass and bushes. And in this area where the building is going to be, I have decided I'm going to put a concrete laydown area instead of having just gravel. I'm going to make myself some concrete slabs out of plaster. I think that will finish off this scene and make it look a lot better. And to do that, I'm going to use some ready mixed plaster, And I've made a little jig, I suppose you would call it, of two pieces of wood that are already the correct height. And I've just basically laid the plaster in there and smoothed it flat in between. And then I'm going to basically let that dry, and then I will transfer that to the layout. It shouldn't stick to that piece of wood. It's an old piece of shelf, uh, so I'll be able to easily remove that. And while I was waiting for that to dry, I decided to weather the little building that accompanies this, the bigger building. And one of the things I did was weather the roof with the corrugated iron sheets. Instead of being the uniform grey that it was before, I've decided to make it look more composed of panel sections, and I've just weathered them accordingly, some heavier than others, and I think this looks a lot more realistic. And now that the plaster has dried, I've basically cut it to shape and basically just glued it down to the area. The wooden bit that you see, that is the edge of the laydown area, and that's where the building will butt up to it. And then once this glue is dried, I've basically painted it a light grey concrete colour, and I've also scored in the various slab areas and created my own cracks so that the concrete appears to be crumbling at the edges. And then there's going to be some weathering done in here with some washers and some weathering powders to make this look quite an old and dilapidated area that's seen better days. As you can see, that's some of the weathering powders now on. It just basically highlights the cracks in the concrete, and I think that will complement the whole scene here to its fullest extent. I've also going to make a little concrete base for the building. It was originally just going to be sitting on gravel, but I've decided I think it would look better if it had its own concrete base. And here you can see that that's been laid, the building's sitting on top of it, and I filled in the area around this concrete slabbed section with a mixture of dirt and some fine gravel, and I think that really makes this area stand out now. I'm quite pleased with how this looks. I've also added some scrap bits of concrete that I had left over to the end of the coal pit here, just to make it look a bit more run down. The plastic coal has also been covered with real coal, and I've added some barriers and railings, etc. here, again just to add a little bit of detail to this section. I'm also going to, as we'll see very shortly, put real coal in the coal bunker that you can see at the top of the picture here. The plastic coal effect just isn't working for me anymore. But before we get to that, I've created an area for the vehicles to cross over the track. For this, basically, I've used a Noch laser kit, and basically I've just cut the planks into very thin strips so that I can fix them down at a slight angle, just to better fit in with the crossing, so that the trucks wouldn't have to have such a sharp turn. And this area in white that you can see, again, had some little bits and pieces left over. I was just going to fill that with grass, but I thought I like the concrete slabbed effect so much. I'm just going to make this a more rundown, concreted area that's been forgotten about and abandoned. And I will just add some bushes, weathering, washes and what have you, just to make that look old and forgotten about. So the whole area is coming together quite nicely. And I was so happy with how the roof of the little building turned out with the rusty corrugated iron sheets that I've decided to revamp this entire building as well. Again, just painted the roof grey and then various panels in other shades of grey, and they're going to be weathered to again give a rusty effect. And here you can see I've laid the coal, real coal, in the bunker, and I've finished weathering the building and added all the rust tones to the roof and to some of the side sections as well. And the wooden paneling on the sides of the building I've just lightly weathered as well. It was all looking a bit monotone previously, so I thought I would just tidy this up a little bit and make it look a little bit more in keeping with the scene. And this whole revamping of buildings is going to continue. The crane that sits over the track and adjacent to the coal bunker is going to get remodeled, repainted as well. There was a second crane in this scene before. I've decided that it's not going to be here anymore. I'll keep that for another scenic section sometime in the future. I think one crane is more than sufficient for this area, so we'll see that being done a little bit later in this video. As you can see, the weathering effects on the roof here, I think that's quite subtle. Doesn't stand out too much. It looks the part. It's old, it's rusty, it's dirty, in keeping with this sort of rundown area. I've also touched up two of the vehicles that are parked here. Basically repainted them, added a better detailing, and weathered them. And you can see in the back they've got remnants of coal in them. And just there's added a little skip and a pallet. There'll be a lot more details being added as I go along. So we'll take a little break here and just watch some heavy oil wagons passing through the scene. Okay, after that short little running session, back to the crane that accompanies this coaling area, and I've decided I'm going to repaint it, but I'm also going to remodel it slightly. Again, the plastic coal loads in the hoppers just do not look very good, and what I thought I would do is I would very carefully cut them out and then fill the hoppers with real coal, uh, and one will be at a different level, just to add some interest to the model. So I've basically taken off everything that I could off of the model and just repainted it. Here you can see I've managed to cut out the plastic coal load. I've just got some putty drying on the insides now. Once that's all dry, I'll sand it smooth and then basically add my own coal loads to this, and then weather these hoppers and then install them back on the crane itself. And while I'm doing that, I've decided to go all the way, and I've taken the actual crane itself that sits on top of the I don't know what you call it, frame, and I'm going to remodel that, repaint it, and basically just try and improve it and detail it as much as I can. And here you can see all the little bits and pieces that I've managed to take apart from this whole building, and just give it a coat of grey paint, and then start work on that. And I mentioned earlier on, I'm going to build a corrugated iron fence around the back of the coal bunker. These are the aluminium strips that I've pressed into shape to give that corrugated iron effect, and I will be working on that as well at some time in the future. So here's the whole frame painted, lightly weathered. The wooden beams at the top there where the crane sits on have also been repainted. The crane jib here, again, lightly weathered. And the actual crane housing where the driver sits in, I've just painted that, weathered it. I've also added, I'm not sure if you can see it very clearly, a couple of small handrails around the doors that were missing. I think that just adds a little bit something to this building. I've also taken apart the scoop, and I'm going to paint and weather that and fill that with some real coal as well. That's the roof section there with a walkway, and I'm just in the process of weathering all of that. These are the hoppers, slightly weathered. Just added some rust effects and some panels to it to indicate running repairs. So it's just taking my time here, just working away on this, and just trying to figure out what other details I can add to this, just to make the whole crane here a little bit more interesting. So as you can see, these are all the bits and pieces which I'm just working on, just weathering it ever so slightly. I'm trying to tone down the rust effects that were on it before. I think it was just a bit too much. Here I have reassembled the crane unit and the scoop. I've replaced the plastic wires with metal wires to hold the scoop. The plastic one kept on breaking, all the time, so this should be a bit stronger. And this is the section that the crane unit sits on, and it's in real life traverses across, so it can load coal from the bunker and then drop them into the scoops, and then the wagons pull in underneath, and the scoops discharge the coal into the wagons. I've got the concrete counterweights as well. I've decided to weather them. The little cocktail sticks there just for easier handling while I paint them and apply some dirt washers. So again, we'll just have a little running session here just to break up the video. Okay, we're back to the crane. And as you can see, I've added the coal into the hoppers. I've also attached the moving section of the crane right at the end of the jib. I've actually just fastened that down with some PVA and allowed that to set. I'm not entirely sure if that's where I want it to actually sit at the moment. So it's just a temporary fix until I'm happy with how it looks. I've added real coal into the scoop, and I broke the windows in the cabin unit of the crane while removing them. So I've replaced all of them with some thin sheets of clear plastic and added the window frames all around it. So that's it all done now. So it's just about finished and ready to go on the landscape. And again, we've got some more running sessions coming up. Hope you've enjoyed what I've shown you today. I've tried to break up the video to include some running sessions and then showing some of the work that I've been doing. It's taken me a little bit of while. As I said, it's been a long time since I've posted anything. I've been busy, as you can see, working away on a few little bits and pieces, and also just running trains for the fun of it. I've got a few other little projects on the go at the moment, and they will be the subject of the next video. As you can see, the crane is now in position, and I think it looks very good. And this whole remodeling of kits that I've already got on the layout will continue. As I said before, the second crane that was here originally, I've removed, but I'm also going to repaint that and remodel it, just to try and make it look a lot better. As I said, I think my modeling skills have improved over the years from when I built these kits originally. So I think it's about time to try and improve it and add some detail to them. And here we have a rail bus. That is a new addition to my layout. I've always wanted one of these. In reality, I would actually love to have the rail bus with sound, but that's not possible with my budget at the moment. So the next best thing was this that I picked up on eBay and converted to digital. This is one of the older rail bus kits, and the connection between the two units was just a standard coupling bar. There was no electrical connection between the two units. So what I've done is I've added two small cables, wires from the second unit, which has electrical pickup, and put the wires across to the main unit, so now there is continuous pickup from all four axles, and it gives a much better performance across track work and points. Something very similar to what I did on an older version of a rail bus that I have on the layout. So that just leaves this last running shot now before I finish the video. It's already over 30 minutes long, and I think that is long enough for me to have been talking, albeit with several breaks for some running sessions in between the talking that I've been doing. I hope you've enjoyed what I've shown you, and keep watching for further updates in the future. I hope to be able to put another video out. It's probably going to be in approximately a month's time. I find it difficult to put out videos on a regular basis. Basically, I'll upload something when I have something new to show. As I said, I'm working on a couple of new projects, so that may take a little bit of time. But as I said, there will be new videos, so it's maybe not as regular as they have been in the past. So, with that being said, I'll leave you just with the final few seconds of this steam loco running around the branch line here, and I will hope to see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.